Hey guys, Charisma Lighting here, and today I am actually giving you my first thoughts on Halo. You know, the oh, yeah, that Halo. I am. I basically got done watching the third episode of Halo, where it was actually more of a focus on Master Chief. Well, every single episode is going to be a focus on Chief because Chief is the main character of Halo. And man, they're getting a lot of things right with this show. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people that are going to be watching this are like, Charisma Lining is actually complimenting a series, a 3-episode series that's already out, and they're not doing anything right with the show, or whatever. I mean, people have their right to their own opinions, but this is basically my thoughts of the show and what direction they're going with, and how it could possibly impact the future of episodes, especially with introducing the Flood. I'll get to that here in a moment. Alright guys, I am back, and as you see, it's a lot darker and more atmospheric for my little first impressions. Okay, first things first, I'm going to start with some basics from the first and second episode before going to the third episode, Cortana, and how the relationship of Master Chief and Cortana gets off a little bit rocky, but it might actually smooth itself out to when they encounter Halo Ring, Guilty Spark, and encounter the Flood. Alright. Basically, Halo starts off with a kind of like one of those human insurrectionist colonies, mainly from the books, that, and also some of Halo Reach, where they're kind of like on this planet Mandragora, and they're like discussing like what the Spartans are. Are they human or are they not human? And then guessing, one of our focal points for this little new Halo universe that Paramount Plus has given us, which is amazing, is Quan. Quan and her friends are doing like drugs or something. I never really understood that part. But then again, it's kids being kids, well, teenagers being teenagers are being stupid. And then Quan sees Covenant elites, starts running to tell her friends to get the heck out of there. And then next thing you know, Plasma straight to the dome. Yeah, I'm actually glad. Like, the Covenant are brutal in this series. Well, in all fairness, we've only seen the Prophets, the elites. I think I have seen like a Jackal, like one or two Jackals in probably the third episode. I'm not really sure, but I do remember there was a Jackal in one of the scenes. And basically, Covenant elites start barging in, trying to eradicate all the humans that they can find, which is understandable, of course. They are Covenant warriors, they are elites, they are basically the commanders, and basically, which kind of ties into Arbiter. But Arbiter does not come into Halo 2, so right now it's a little bit early for Arbiter. Or probably there was an Arbiter on the Halo ring where Master Chief and Cortana crash landed on from the Pillar of Autumn. It's Halo lore that, kind of doesn't need to be rehashed, but still, I'm a fan of Halo, play all the video games, and I have read the books. The books are amazing read. If you have a chance, go read the books. But anyway, back to death. Next thing you know, Yui, after most of the humans get killed, in comes a pelican that drops Master Chief. Now, I really like what they did with Master Chief. Was kind of like giving us a familiar perspective. a first person perspective, as if you will, that we are actually seeing outside of Chief's visor, and then he starts going into action. He kills off an elite, he nods to one insurrectionist, and then next thing you know, the fight has begun. Then we're introduced to Silver Team. I'm still not sure about them. I know they're not like Chief's main team from the games and even some of the books, but still, they may become interesting later. We'll just see. And then next thing you know, they find the Keystone, a Forerunner artifact that is probably the key, if you will, to operating one of the Halo rings. Probably installation for any other Halo ring that they can activate with that thing. Which, when you go into like a whole lot of that with what's going on with Master Chief at that moment, the Forerunner artifact unlocks memories from Spartacus in this in particular universe. While in the video games and sometimes some of the books, it's very unknown to some of the effects of what it does. Because in Halo 4, one of the Forerunners and the whole thing with that is giving Chief more superpowers to defeat the Didact. But then again, that's Halo 4. And most of the other stuff with Halo after that. But, and a lot of people are saying that Master Chief shouldn't take off his helmet. When actually, if you read the books, he takes off his helmet and his armor a lot more than the video games. And most of the stuff and the issues that they're tackling within the show actually comes from several of the books of Halo. Now, the insurrectionists and like all that, whether their fight is right or wrong, that is something that I never really got into in the books. But it was an interesting for like Quan and when she met Miranda Keyes. Still not sure about Miranda Keyes being the daughter of Halsey in this. But then again, they're going a completely different route within the show rather than following to the video games, which I personally like. Chief takes off his helmet. We go into the second episode where we meet Soren, or whatever that other Spartan dude's name with the messed up arm because of the augmentation. Chief basically wants another Spartan, well, former Spartan member's help, even though he's still Spartan someone, to get information about the Forerunner artifact. So they go to see a crazy dude that survived a Covenant ship, which I give that guy some balls, because if he survived the Covenant ship and met the Blessed One, he deserves to be crazy. Because some of the stuff that Covenant does to humans, it's not really sanitary. Or even good. I'm trailing off again, yeah. And then Chief finds out about Halo, or at least one of the Halo rings, about it being some sort of weapon, which is not, spoiler alert, it has the power to wipe out all sentient life. Which I think they'll touch in later episodes when they find and crash land, or possibly land on a Halo ring. And also, I really like that Reach is not even glassed yet. This is like pre-Halo Reach, people, which Master Chief was a major fighter on the planet Reach during the time of the Covenant invasion, before he had to be put into hypersleep and then going on the Pillar of Autumn. So I'm glad that we're seeing a little bit of Reach in this little series before the Blessed One probably finds out where Reach is at and then glasses it when some stuff happens. Now, I'm going into episode 3. I'm not skipping around a lot, but I really want to talk about episode 3. I love Cortana. This is probably one of the best things they've done ever. It's like not like purple or just like a solid blue hologram. it's like different skin. It's like actual skin tone with like kind of like a suit thing, which is basically why I would assume what the UNSC would actually do and have it be kind of like a uniform thing. Of course, they brought up the issues of cloning and then of killing a clone to create the Cortana system. But then Cortana being voiced by her voice actress is like awesome. I'm serious. I nerded out so much when I saw that and heard it. And right now, I'm liking the relationship between Master Chief and Cortana, mainly because Chief does not trust Cortana. And then again, Chief only trusts Halsey, the Spartans, and some of his commanding officers, which is understandable. Because Chief isn't a robot. He just doesn't follow orders blindly. He's a soldier, but he'll do whatever is necessary to get the job done. Like, seriously, when Guilty Spark reveals the true nature of Halo, Master Chief was like, okay, missions change. I gotta destroy this entire thing before the Covenant, Captain Keyes, or basically anyone uses it and then wipes us all out of existence to stop the Flood. I talk about the Flood a lot because the Flood is kind of like one of my most... I'm very fascinated by the Flood in Halo since I first played Halo 1 Combat Evolved on my old Xbox, which I still have an old Xbox from 2001. Still runs good. Fun games. And basically, I'm going back to Chief and Cortana. Chief and Cortana's trying to make herself friendly to Chief. Like, even though she's basically a spy for Halsey, she still wants to help out Chief in basically her prime directive. But Chief does not trust her. And then it takes Halsey giving orders to Cortana, which Cortana is kind of like a little bit rebellious, Halsey as well, since Cortana is technically a clone. But after Cortana helps Chief, I think Chief is probably going over the course of this, since he is showing emotions, and he doesn't have like a helmet on. Okay? And Chief, he did have emotions in the video games. Trust me. I replayed a lot of them, just double check and make sure I knew this fact. He did have emotions during the games. Concern, worry is an actual human emotion that in Halo 4, Chief actually shows for Cortana. In Halo Infinite, Chief is basically sad from when he sees the state of his fellow Spartans that were basically tortured by the Banished. And even though you can't see his face, I'm pretty sure I detected a whiff of surprise from when, in Halo 3, when Private Johnson said that the Arbiter and the humans basically have a little bit of a pact that goes on to destroy Halo and kill Mercy. And I'm loving that they're allowing Chief to be like what he was in the books. He's not a robot. He's not anything else. He is an actual human being. Which, I'm pretty sure if this was a video game we're playing right now, sometimes we probably wouldn't even have the HUD on to represent Chief taking off the helmet and then having the HUD on when Chief has on the helmet. So we're starting off with Cortana and Chief having a rocky relationship, but probably throughout time we'll see it get better. And right now the Blessed One, the female that the Covenant adopted, which I was a little bit surprised about, but then again I reminded myself, this is not the video games, and this is not the books. Even though it's heavily inspired by the books, it is Halo, its own TV series. And also, man, we will see how this show goes. I'm loving it so far. It is probably one of the best adaptations that I have seen in live action besides Sonic the Hedgehog for a video game. Mainly because we don't have a Metal Gear series, which I want. Like, seriously, if you could do Halo, you could do Metal Gear. Metal Gear. I'm a fan of Solid Snake, guys. Or possibly, oh, imagine this, a live-action Metroid game. And we can even have Samus X as a horror movie. No? Maybe, who knows. But yeah, those are just my first impressions and first thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Halo. And, oh yeah, I forgot. The Flood. Now, even though Flood is one of my favorite aspects of Halo, I have a feeling they're going to show it in the series. Because it kind of feels like they have to now. Because we already got a Covenant and Human War that's going on. Understandable. Now we have and like the Great Journey, which is tied into the Halo rings and basically going to, wipe out the entirety of the sentient life on Galaxy. But the whole thing about the Halo rings was being a weapon against the Flood. Now, it depends on which Halo ring to go to if they will encounter the Gravemind. Or the Gravemind. It's late for me right now. I'm just doing this because I can't get my brain to go to sleep. And drinking some sleepy time tea. But still, the Flood, even though they're not mentioned yet, you can feel their presence within the 3rd episode. Somewhat. It's because of those tentacle monsters remind me of some of the aspects of the Gravemind from the Halo series, but I still think that the Flood will show up. And oh, that will be like a horror movie moment. Okay. Just thought of something. Imagine this. Cortana is actually in Halo's control center, trying to get Chief to stop Keyes or whoever is the main commander in the honcho, and that's trying to get, and then he finds the little, memory card of, Private Johnson, or not Private Johnson, of some other dude that gets killed by the Flood. And then he has to fight the Flood, like the little, oh man, it's gonna be creepy. It's gonna be good. But yeah, Flood will show up probably later, and then we will see on how the Chief and the Covenant react to that. Those are just my thoughts, my one theory of this whole series that's going on. I don't really have much. I'll probably do a full series review once the whole series is done. And then if we get a second season, hopefully that second season will be called Halo 2. See what I did there? Yeah. This is probably why I'm still single. Who knows? But yeah, that's basically it for me. And I'll upload this, and then let me know what your guys' thoughts and impressions of the Halo series down in the comment section below. And then who knows? I might do another Ultraman figure review. Might do a Godzilla figure review. I might even do some nerdy stuff for you guys. And anyways, this is Trisman Lighting. Wishing for the lighting. To protect you guys. See you around.